Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Rockwood number 555 in a 15 finish. That means satin nickel. 555 is the ubiquitous the most common commercial flush bolt there is, in the sense of, well, certainly the 555 is quite common from Rockwood, but it's dimensional properties, its ANSI preparation, regardless of who the manufacturer is, makes it the most common flush bolt really of the last several decades. Before that, I think you may have had a lot more common 1.25 inch wide face. This is a 1 inch wide face and is a lever manual extension flush bolt. This is used in mostly non-fire rated doors. This is capable of being used for doors of, really any height, at the top and the bottom. It can be installed. Very nice quality item. What's really outstanding about Rockwood is their fit and finish. The quality of the finished product just simply always looks very, very good. It's clean. There's no defect in the finish. It's processed, it's manufactured so that it looks very nice when it gets in your hands, etc. It has a UL stamp, which tells us that it is permissible for use when allowed by its application in fire doors. It's F, a capital letter F, and that means positive pressure rated. A lowercase f would mean neutral pressure rated. I do have to admit, I'm not sure what the R in the circle means. If you know what that is, please comment on that. At this time, I don't know what that stands for. It of course might mean that it's just the UL symbol is a registered, registered with the trademark office. I'm not accustomed to seeing the registered symbol with UL like this. That could be just simply what it is. So this is a 555. That means that it is 1 inch wide, and that it is 6 3/4 tall. Okay, you're going to hear flush bolts like this used in different height applications. Unless you specify a length for the flush bolt, you're going to get 12 inch. And what that means is the rod that is with the material, it doesn't measure 12 inch at all. Probably a little bit short on 12 inch. Yeah, about 10 5/8. What that means is the top of the door or the bottom of the door to the center of its faceplate is 12 inch. That would require a rod of this length, about 10 5/8. So once that's installed into the door, and you're using it at the top or the bottom, doesn't matter, you would achieve that 12 inch dimension. Now 12 inch is going to be really great for bottom flush bolts. Okay, I have had people in the past say, you know what, I really don't want to reach over that far. Put it up a little higher, 18 inch, 24 inch, doesn't really matter. All of that can be accommodated. 6/8 doors, 7/0 doors, 12 inch top is usually pretty good. If you reach your hand up, you probably can reach, what would be in effect 72 inch to the center line of that lever. You get into an 8-foot door, yeah, you're going to be seeing 18 inch or 24 inch, and taller than that. I like to just add 12 inch for every door, for every foot beyond 7. I don't use 18, but you'll certainly see it come up in that regard. So that's just how I do it. You can order longer rods from Rockwood. This is typical 1/4 20 threaded rod, although it's not completely threaded, but it's just 1/4 20. So when they send you, if you were doing 8-foot doors or 9-foot doors and you're doing 24 or 30 or 36 inch rods, whatever you're doing, it's just 1/4 20. It is going to be available in lots of different finishes. Now, because it's Rockwood, that means there's lots of finishes that are possible. But without going into listing each one of them, the brass, the bronze, the chrome, the satin, polished, antique, oil rub bronze, powder coated. Rockwood has the capability of doing lots of finishes. Black powder coat is the new common finish nowadays. Antique nickel, they can certainly do antique nickel on this, etc. Okay, nice quality looking item. So how does it work? Well, all you do is you throw this lever. That's all that you do. That threaded rod is connected to the back mechanism. There's a spring that's back there that makes it not only move but positively lock in each direction, or positively secure itself. I couldn't say that it's locked, but does find the dimension. And I guess in that regard it is locked. I can't get that to move. Yeah, I would say that it is locked in position because I need that spring to get moved out of the way before the body can actually travel. And otherwise, when that spring sets inside of there, pulling on it just doesn't get me where I need to go with that. Okay, so this is also going to include its accessory hardware. Beyond the threaded rod, we're going to have a template or a dimensional drawing of the item, which we're going to go over. You're going to have your strike, and that would go to the header or to the sill, whatever the case might be. Typical 2 1/4. This should be 15/16, I believe. Yeah, 15/16. If you're doing a hollow metal or a wood frame, you'll want to prep the header for that. You're going to need to determine the edge of the door to the center of your bolt. If you're measuring from the center of the header, take your gap between your two doors and divide that by 2, and then add the back set to that, and that would be your position to the center line of the strike from center. You'll also get your guide. Now, if you're doing wood doors, you're going to absolutely want to install this guide. If you're doing hollow metal doors, you'll want to make sure that your hollow metal manufacturer has built that door for this type of guide. And what I mean is, you'll notice that that's a D shape. Well, it is now anyway. As is the bolt head. That's to prevent the bolt head from spinning. If that was not shaped like a D, you could count on sooner or later that bolt head unthreading, and usually threading inside the door to the point where when you try to throw the lever, the bolt head is hitting on the top of the guide. Okay, so making it shaped like a D is how they prevent that from happening. And plus, you, of course, when you install this, you will thread the bolt head down to the rod, and then all of that will be threaded down, of course, into the body, and you'll get all of that threaded to the point where it's basically flush with the top of the door, projecting an ever so slight amount so that it never falls below, and then far enough so that it will hit the minimum latch throw requirement. This wouldn't be a latch, but the label on the door will say what the minimum throw is for this, and we'll discuss the projection of this bolt in a moment. So you'll get the guide. If it's a hollow metal door, it's going to be prepped for this. There's no doubt, top and bottom. If it is a wood door, it'll need to be, this hardware will have to be installed, and that's 2 inch by 1 inch. Okay. After that, you're just going to get your fasteners. Wood machine combination, number 8 screws with a flat undercut head. It's just a typical Phillips. They look awfully small for a number 2. Nonetheless, probably a number 2. Okay, let's switch this view to the screen view so we can take a look at the supporting documentation and the extended description. Okay, this is the item that we're looking at, the Rockwood 555. Lever extension flush bolt, satin nickel plated clear-coated brass. So the 619 means that it's made of brass, the faceplate portion is, and that it has a satin nickel finish that has a clear coat on it, is what that means. So people will say, oh, I don't want brass, I want nickel. No, it's satin nickel. Or I want satin nickel. It's satin nickel. It's just what they're saying is this exposed hardware is made of brass that has a plating on it. Extended description talks about the dimensional properties that we've already gone over. Up to a 40-10 single door is what this can handle in a fire-rated application. However, really the only fire-rated application you're going to see a manual bolt would be in a closet, like an electrical closet, in any commercial facility for the most part, unless there is a occupancy reason that it can't be. And the defining factor is that there's no human occupancy on the inside of that room. You know, if it's a 6x6 electrical closet or a 6x10 closet, you know, you can have a manual flush bolt according to standard on the inactive door, because the logic is the only time that door is open is when someone is standing there. Otherwise, that door is going to be latched, bolted, and locked closed, or at least latched. And that logic is, you know, you're not, what they're saying is you're not going to leave that door open and unattended with all the, you know, whatever the equipment will be in there. The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing chase in a 4-story condo building is not going to be left open. So having manual flush bolts there is generally permissible. 3/4 inch bolt throw with a 3/4 inch back set, 12-inch rod length. Other lengths are available. Extra long bolt heads are available as well. And the reason you might want that is because you have an odd undercut, or you have to. So you have to maintain your minimum latch throw, whatever your label on your door says. However, you might have an unusual gap in order to get there. So you might need a longer bolt head, which means your bolt's going to hang down longer off the bottom of the door. And I am indeed thinking about the bottom of the door. And that Rockwood bolt head, let's take a look. Yeah, this is the standard 1.5-inch bolt head, the 555B. And then the EL is where you can actually have the factory indicate, you can indicate to the factory the length of the item that you want to see there. Okay, so the 555B or 555B-EL. So, 2 different bolt lengths, and they are available, and they will accommodate longer lengths. I've had Rockwood make, I think someone asked for a 4-inch length bolt at one time for their application. And I think, someone wanted a longer bolt head because slightly longer because of an unusual application where they wanted to bolt the door in the 0-degree and 90-degree position, and they needed a little extra length to make it there. The length of the standard bolt head is 1.5 inches. Okay. And that link is down below to both the custom length that you can specify along with the standard one for some reason if you needed to review the bolt head itself. Okay, so supporting, the 570 strike. The 570 strike is very typical and common because that Rockwood 570 strike is used exclusively in the sill. Okay, as seen here, which is meant for a flush bolt head. Okay, so that's that link below this video to the 570 strike. Okay, now our supporting documentation of this item. Let's jump into the product brochure first. That'll be the quicker of the two. The 550 is a variant of this flush bolt, and this would be, they're still available, you still see them. I generally see a 550 in older hollow metal doors, maybe from the 1970s, because the faceplate is 1.25 inches wide. Okay, so if you bump into an otherwise common manual flush bolt, but it's 1.25 inches, sure, it's the 550. Ives may have discontinued theirs, but it is still available in 1.25 inch width. Everything else is the same. Now, the 555 is listed here. Okay, indicates all the profile of the information that we've already gone over. You can do rabbited kits for these as well. And a rabbited door kit basically allows you to install this material onto a door that has a rabbet on the edge. And just really quickly about a rabbeted door guide. So this is the rabbeted piece that would be in the edge of the door to account for a rabbeted style. These rabbeted guides, however, they're going to go up into the top of the door. So if you have a rabbeted top rail of your door, it's going to look like this. Okay, and that guide is obviously meant to fit inside of here, to be mortised flush actually. And then you would of course have a transom that's going to go along with this. Okay, and we know that this guide will, you know, be mortised into the door itself because it has this curved feature, and that would take the bellied portion or the radiused portion of the bolt head, and then of course again square on the back side. So in your mind's eye, that bolt head is going to come right through this area here, with the flattened end being against, you know, the stepped lower portion of what you're installing, of that rabbet that you're installing it on. It's not uncommon to see rabbeted top rails at all. I just did a hollow metal door with a rabbeted top rail, and while it didn't have a flush bolt, you know, if it did, this is what you'd be looking at in terms of requiring. This rabbeted piece is when you're dealing with a rabbet in the edge of the door, because you'd otherwise have, you know, a piece of hardware that's going to be mortised into the door, and you need some way to be able to fill in that rabbeted piece so that the rabbet in the style of the door when you install that flush bolt, into an area, you've got to kind of, add a piece here to be able to complete off your installation, because you've removed some of it to make a flush bolt installation, and that's what it's basically. A filler piece is what it is. Our 555. Now the 18 BFB, that's going to be a reference to in an application where you have a pair of doors and you're doing a manual flush bolt at the top of the door only. You might be required to have a bottom fire bolt, BFB, and this is installed in the pair of doors. And when the temperature hits somewhere in the low 200 degree range, long past anyone is standing at the door, there will be a projectile, there will be a protrusion that's going to explode out of the edge of this through this cap or strike that's in the opposite door, securing the two doors together. That's what that is there for. 550. So you can order it as a set, is basically what they're saying. Lever extension flush bolt with bottom fire bolt. Not sure why it's there twice. All right, let's move on and talk about the template that is there. So this template is really just a dimensional drawing of the item. It covers pretty much everything, almost everything we've gone over. That back set is indicated there at 3/4 inch. You'll need to know that when you're locating your strike. Take note that the flattened side is towards the outside edge of the door. So if you're installing this into a hollow metal door, which you very likely are, the door will probably already be prepped. It's possible to prep hollow metal doors for this material. It's really not difficult. You would, of course, just cut or die grind however you would make that 6 3/4 by 1 inch prep. You need a couple of mounting tabs welded into the edge of the door to mount your body to. You'll prep the top and bottom of your door to receive the threaded rod, and then attach your guide to the top and bottom of the door so that you preserve the integrity of the bolt coming through the hole. The actual steps on how to go about doing that, if you happen to be doing it, I've got customers who are building, like a custom wrought iron gate. They'll buy the hardware from me, and we'll walk through the process by which to get the hardware installed. If you're doing this in a wood door, I would turn around and run immediately. All kidding aside, it's very possible, and I've done it hundreds of times, installing manual extension flush bolts in a wood door. Although your doors they ought to be prepped from the factory, so you're not having to do this work. But I had a client yesterday who ordered a mess of hardware because he's building his own door. And talking about how to get the hardware installed is part of the conversation. So if I was to go about mortising the door, I would use my router and I would create my body prep, which would be 5 1/4 inch and 3/8 deep, and then I would make it 1 inch wide, even though I would personally make it about 7/8 wide, and I'll show you why in a moment. Then I would do my plate prep, which would be 6 3/4 by 1 inch, eighth of an inch thick is what I would do. Then I've got my entire prep done for the body. I would then square my corners, obviously. At this point is where it gets tricky. You need to drill a hole that's 3/4 inch backset. That's 3/8 diameter. I believe it's 3/8. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's 3/8. From the top or bottom of the door all the way into that cavity. And the challenge is drilling it straight. Now, we sell a tool for doing that work, and I've owned this tool. I've had 2 versions of it, or I've owned it twice. The MFG 50 extension, you basically clamp this to the edge of the door and then you feed your bit in, and it does a very good job at keeping you on target, so to speak. A very good job, in fact. I have personally used this hundreds and hundreds of times. The only thing I've ever done was sharpen and buy additional drill bits. This bushing is quite durable because when it's, and this is being shown to you when the door is in an orientation where, as if the door is hanging in the frame. Imagine this rotated 90-degree clockwise. You would never drill it that way. You would drill it this way with the door laying on its side, and you would feed that bit in there slowly, half inch in, 1 inch out, half inch in, 1 inch, that kind of routine. Clear out the chips, and that generally will put you really in a good position to get that hole drilled to where you need it. Every so often you do have trouble with that because you've got disparate densities of wood. A hardwood style door that might be floating core, that drill bit's going to seek the less dense material. So sometimes it doesn't go quite swimmingly, and it is not recommended to do it in the field, but it can be done. If it's a fire-rated door, you obviously wouldn't do it in the field. But with that guide, you can give it you definitely have a fighting chance. And every 10 that I would do, 1 or 2 of them would be troublesome because of a density of wood problem. But other than that, it goes pretty smoothly. That rod will go in. You will mortise for your rod guide. Square out the corners. It's 5/64 thick, 2 inch by 1 inch, and you're off to the races. Then your installation is done. You do have to get the bolt head and the rod threaded into the body and operating correctly before you attach this because of that D-prep. And that's it. That's all there is to the installation of this product. I don't know how many decades flush bolts have been around, but it's a century plus would be my guess. So the link to the manufacturer's page is here. Now that's a very helpful link because that will allow you, and this is the page that comes up, that will allow you to review not only all the Rockwood products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog of all of their core trim and auxiliary hardware, flat goods, push bars, pull handles, wall stops, obviously bolts, flush bolts, surface bolts. If you are doing a wood door, however, the 555 is really not the right flush bolt for that. A wood door is going to be better served by a 557. This is the prep that you can more easily do for a wood door. You basically are just mortising out the corner, and you don't have to drill that long hole. And that's an 18-inch drill bit that's included. And heaven forbid you have to drill a 24-inch hole. which I've done, and it's no problem. But you do lose the relationship with the tip of the drill bit when you're drilling that far into a door. But it can certainly be done. And really what the problem is, it's the disparate material. You've got stiles and you've got core, and sometimes you have a void. Nothing is there. But with a wood door style, you can more easily chisel that out. The problem with these is if you have an 8-foot door, okay, now all of a sudden you need a step stool to get to that manual bolt. But you can do an automatic bolt in a wood door style. So be mindful of that. So that Rockwood full-line catalog will show you their core list. The architectural door pull catalog is here. That's 100+ pages of custom door pulls from Rockwood, made of architectural base material like stainless, brass, bronze. They can do leather wrapped pulls, rubber wrapped pulls, pulls with wood incorporating into them. Locking pulls, locking door pulls can be done as well. Other encyclopedic documents like past product catalogs are here as well. Let's wrap up this video on camera. In conclusion, the name Rockwood is synonymous with exceptional quality builder's hardware, and this 555 for as generic and as much an item that is on the receiving end of complete and total ignoring from people. It's just a flush bolt. No one thinks about it. They do a really great job at a piece of equipment that literally no one thinks about when it comes to fit and finish. This client ordered one. They're sold and priced per each. Obviously, they're generally purchased in pairs of doors. In pairs, you generally need one at the top and bottom, but not always. You might just be replacing one, or you might be doing a bottom firebolt as well. Also, if you need the longer rods, you can just type in Rockwood rod, and I think the different lengths will come up there as well. If you have any questions on the Rockwood 555 in a US 15 or a 619 satin nickel finish, or any other Rockwood product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.